Another myth. Thanks to XYX technology, you don't need physical protection or a security policy. Why is this false? All applications can only be used for protection if they're turned on. Shutting down your operating system, it's hard to believe that it would still protect the data saved on the disks. It doesn't, and it can't. This is true also of any other device. Let's go back to firewalls for a moment. Even if you paid $5,000 for a mid-range firewall, it won't defend your system against locally driven attacks, which, for example, may be launched from the computer standing next to your own. In other words, technological security measures are vital. They should only be part of a larger security policy for your company. We'll talk about that in the next part of this course. Effective security is achieved through obscurity, is another false notion. This theory assumes that the less conspicuous you are, the more secure your system will be. But it's much harder to hide in the internet than it is to hide in your house, on your street, or in your neighborhood. Attempting to obscure your computer system in the internet means that your presence will be compromised for potential customers and other people you want to share information with. Not connecting to the internet in the first place wouldn't make for a big difference. Any system that performs some operations can disclose a lot on its configuration and the people who manage it. This information is out there for the public, and in the next parts of this course, we'll learn to read it. The next myth. Client-side security successfully protects the server. An example is a client application, which does not allow users to enter -1 as a value in the price field on an online shop. It protects us from people who would want to try and deceive us by buying a product for free and making us pay money to them. This myth is false for two reasons. As server administrators, you have no control over client computers. The client could be the administrator of his computer and will be able to use it freely. He could, for example, tamper with the functioning of your secure web page used for online purchases. Not being a programmer, the user may not want to modify the code on the web page, but he can connect to the page bypassing your application on a public server. You can't force all users to connect to the server always using your application. If there's communication, users can always set it without having to use an X program if they know how to do it. And the program that will be used instead may not function exactly as you wish it would. Cracking passwords is the biggest threat, is another myth from our list. Yes, you should protect your authorizations. It's not true, however, that if an unauthorized person gains access to your authorizations, he or she may hijack your identity in a computer system. It's also not true that cracking a password consists of trying algorithms and authorization procedures until an unencrypted password is determined. It's far easier to simply ask a user to provide a password. As you'll see, in 6 out of 10 attempts, the user will submit his password himself, so cracking it is simply not worth the trouble. Encrypted passwords, for example an MD5 hash or any other cryptographic material, are used for authorizations in computer systems. It's enough to send a hash to an application without even knowing the unencrypted value. The threat is not limited to simply cracking passwords. As far as computer systems users are concerned, a variant of the myth tells them not to save any passwords. They have to be memorized. A secure password set up by administrators could, for example, be a string of 18 pseudo-randomly generated characters. Users, knowing they'll have trouble remembering it, take the password down. Is it wrong to do so? No. The problem is, however, storing the information in a secure way, like you would store the confidential data such as a credit card. Not many people would leave their credit card under their keyboards. They usually put it in a wallet. So why don't you keep the note with your password in your wallet and leave it under the keyboard instead?